Hola Madridistas, welcome to this 2022 year recap. Here, we're gonna talk about the highlights of this wonderful year that ends, one of the best years in the history. So, helping me with this recap, we have here today Doris and Farouk. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hey man, what's up? Long time no see. You
Very good. Um, I'm expecting, I'm expecting a child. It's no until July. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
But I'm happy.
that's great. Then hopefully we can, welcome the baby with the Champions League.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have a new Madridista, either a boy or a girl, but for sure she is gonna be a Madridista. That's that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I'm happy, Doris. I'm glad. I'm a little bit sick. I'm being sick for the past, I don't know, couple of weeks. It's been rough here in Mexico. We have like, it's still COVID, but also a lot of other um, uh, viruses and stuff. But yeah, I'm good. I'm excited, um, chase for the last game, and we won against Valladolid, so I'm happy. We ended the year very good, and we're expected to start the year as
Yeah,
well tomorrow, and we're gonna have a show for the preview. I don't know how to spell the name, even though I'm Spanish speaker. So we we wish this 2023, like I said, results in the same way. We cannot ask for a better year than 2022. So I can only wish to us do uh, the same. So if you guys want, we can move on to the highlights of the year, starting in January 2022 with the Spanish Super Cup.
yeah,
You guys remember we won the Spanish Super Cup. We play first against Barcelona in a semi-final, and then Athletic Club de Bilbao in the final. So, and then I think won with a Fede goal. For me, that's the perfect way to start a year. It's not a season, but a year in terms of motivation. We beat our biggest rival. Then I don't want to say like what's a done deal, but it was a pretty much a done deal when we face Athletic Club
yeah,
de Bilbao. So I don't know if you guys remember that, but that game was the game when Xavi and Laporta said that, oh, this is the inflection point. They lose and they like cheer them up, like almost if they beat them. For me, it was funny then, and it's still funny now because 1 year and pretty much nothing
yeah,
has changed.
exactly.
So I don't know if you want, guys, want to comment something on that. Our first title of the 2022.
Yeah, I remember the classical. Like it was a game where, like, as you said, Barca fans were celebrating a defeat, so it felt so weird, honestly. Like as we've been used to in the past years, like Barcelona has always been a nightmare. So like they celebrating a defeat against us actually shows how really, really down the trenches they are. And as Javier rightly said, it's been a year and literally nothing has changed. I was reading the other day that Barca are still in the financial debt, and yeah, like they still have to find a way to, send players out before they can bring players in, and what is not. And they have no trophies, nothing yet. So yeah, I mean, more of the same. I'm okay if they would still, keep having that changing points, or whatever they call them, keep losing and keep having changing points and celebrating losses. So yeah, that's fine by me. But yeah, I do remember the first trophy of the year, and the game was quite back and forth, honestly. And credit to Barcelona, because like I really wasn't expecting them to play that well at that point, and really they gave us a fight. And as you said, it required extra time goal to actually secure the victory, and we went to the final against Athletic Club. Although like yeah, it was after. I mean, the winner of the El Clasico was, always going to be the shoe-in favorite to win the final. Obviously, nothing is, totally decided. But it was really great to start the season on the right foot. And yeah, if I'm not wrong, I think there was a Benzema goal as well. I think in the final. So yeah, it was really, really it was a good way to start the year, and hopefully we can continue in that sense this year as well. Yeah, Doris, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, like Farouk said, uh, more often than not, the winner of the Clásico will face each other. You know, like it's very rare that any team, either Madrid or Barcelona, win this Spanish Super Cup. This trophy uh, this year is gonna be played in Morocco. I don't understand why, but for the same reason that it's in the name it's Spanish. They only play with Spanish, so I don't understand the reason to be played in Morocco, but it is what it is. So if you guys don't have anything more to add, we can move on to the next highlight of the year. I pinpoint for me is very clear when the when I feel
Oh, sorry, you
that
said the game is going to
we
be
are
played in
gonna win.
Morocco. I thought it was in Saudi Arabia, no?
No, the last year was played in Saudi Arabia. I think this year is played in Morocco.
Ah, wow, interesting.
I'm not sure. I may be wrong, but I think this year is gonna be played in Morocco.
I see, I see. Wow, that's because I remember like I think the FIFA Club World Cup also will be played in Morocco or something like that. I think I'm not
Ah,
also very sure.
I might be mixed up
Is it
those.
right? Yeah,
Sorry,
okay,
no,
that
I think that I said it.
that could be, that could be. Yeah, well, actually,
Yeah,
I think you're totally right. Like, it's the Spanish Super Cup, and why is it being played, in these places? It's just, yeah, it's just about the, incentives involved in it. And I think it's very hypocritical, of people, to come out and, for example, criticize that Qatar is hosting a World Cup, for example, things like that when you have this leagues literally going to these places to play already. So I mean, it's all one of the same. So it's easy for Tebas and all that to call out, oh, FIFA is corrupt, UEFA is corrupt, and literally they just do the same thing that these people do, and it's called the Spanish World Cup. Honestly, like, I mean, it's not a friendly, as you said, it's a Spanish Super Cup, so I felt like it should always remain in Spain. And even take that away, like people come out and complain about the fixture congestion and what is and what is not, and you have to take people, from to travel from Europe to the Middle East, just to play this tournament in the middle of the season, considering also like they just came back from the World Cup and what is and what is not. So it's literally, a very, very unnecessary headache in the middle of the season, So I just wish, one team will actually make a stand, and say that we're not playing this, or one team will actually make a stand and say, okay, we're sending Castilla, for example, to go and play this,
yeah,
not the big stars that you guys want. Well, as you know, it's just a capitalist business and it's all about money, 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 wherever there is the dollar sign, people just, go there eventually. But yeah, unfortunately, this is the situation of the game we love right now. It's all about where can we make the highest money, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Doris said that I have a microphone problem. I hope this is better. I switch for my other microphone, but yeah, okay. Thank you, Doris. So, especially for us, we have the more to lose because we have to play the Spanish Super Cup and the World Clubs
Exactly.
Cup,
Exactly.
and there's no reason why you should the team that is winning be the most affected by the calendar. It should be in the benefit of them. There's no reason. The only reason that we're gonna play the um, the World Cup champions is in this month is because of the World Cup. They usually play it in December, so they move it for the World Cup, and the only team that is gonna have this problem is Real Madrid because no other team has a domestic cup played outside their country in January. But like you said, it is what it is. We're gonna win both of them, I hope, and this is gonna be, another rock in our shoe. And yeah, nothing more to add. So the next highlight of the year for me was the game. Like I said, when I feel that we won La Liga, it was when we played against Sevilla in Sevilla. You know,
Hmm.
this game has everything against us. If you guys remember, Sevilla was the top contender on until that point. It was us first and then Sevilla. So uh, we start the game losing in the first half 2-0. Nothing seemed to work. Was a was a very a disaster first half. We don't make anything possible. But then in the second half, we have for me, the first true comeback of the season. We have goals for Rodrigo and then Nacho, and then in the injury time, Karim with the winner. I think it was a pass, a very good pass for a play. I think it was Lucas Vasquez pass to Rodrigo, and Karim only has to to put it. But being beaten down 2-0 against Sevilla in Sevilla, and then make a comeback, for me was, after that game, I was like, this is done deal. We're gonna win La Liga. So maybe you can add your feelings of if you think this is the right moment when we win. What are your thoughts of La Liga's these crucial games? Doris? Yeah. Farouk, you remember do you remember, Farouk, that until that point, Sevilla was the strongest defense? Also, I think Bono ended up winning the Zamora Award.
Yeah.
We managed to score 3 times in the same game against a Sevilla's team that I think to recall that no other team has scored even twice in any other game until that point. So that's even more impressive of the downfall, like Doris said, the downfall of Sevilla these um, last 6 months are one of the worst downfalls I ever seen. But the first half of the 2022 was a very strong Sevilla side.
Yeah.
So do you think it's more to add on this subject?
Yeah, actually, I just, try to zoom back or rather rewind back to that, to that phase. And I think it was, was it after the Chelsea game or something like that? I can't recall
It was
exactly.
in between, I think.
Yeah, so, it just goes back to that, period where like we literally were just, we became a second half team, I would say, like we literally, we're just zoning out for the first half and just coming and playing in the second half. And it was it was a very scary and exciting moment at the same time, where adrenaline is so high. And honestly, like I wasn't expecting that complete comeback. I was expecting the comeback to equate to a draw, honestly. But the comeback, with the, as you so rightly said, like with the goal from Karim Benzema was, just the icing on the cake. Honestly, it was a really really good play, from Rodrigo and Vasquez as well. Just to give the to create this situation for Karim Benzema. And honestly, like, yeah, I totally agree with what you said, Javier. Like it was a point where you actually believe that, yes, now we're gonna win the league. Like that was one of the situations where you could finally say, okay, yeah, this is almost done. Although like eventually, like some people will try to put Barcelona as contenders, but in my opinion, they were always pretenders. Like they were never actually in the team, honestly. So yeah, I really do agree that like the Sevilla game was a really crucial one, honestly. And even the first game against Sevilla at the Bernabeu, also if you could recall, like it was a 1-1 tied game and actually requires a moment of magic from Vini in the dying minute as well, to actually win the game for a 2-1 victory. So yeah, I would say like the Sevilla games were really crucial and very key because of the position that they took, especially in the league. Whilst Doris rightly pointed out, like they actually even they fired like Lopetegui this season, and the fortunes actually are looking very good. But then with the hiring of Sampaoli, I think they should be able to at least creep out of relegation and what is and what is not. But yeah, last season they actually put up a fight, and it was really interesting to watch them actually.
Yeah, so moving on to the next highlight, it's the only highlight in the negative uh, way. It's the out of the Copa del Rey in the round of, uh, I think in the round of 16. If you guys don't remember, I will refresh your memory. We lose 1-0 against Athletic Club de Bilbao uh, in San Mamés with a goal in the 89th minute. So
Hmm.
probably on the shore of the extra time. And I remember a little bit of the game, It was a rough game, like all the games in San Mamés. It
Yeah.
was a very physical game. I remember that much. But I don't remember any good play for our boys. I think I will say we deserve to lose because we didn't create that much uh, goal score opportunities. But Doris, if you remember something special about that game, or what do you think of our last season, Copa del Rey, the game Copa del Rey?
Yeah, actually, I don't remember
So,
much, honestly, about
do
that
you
game.
remember anything about our? Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry, Farouk. Maybe
Yeah,
not the game per se, but the whole Copa del Rey of last year. If you guys uh, remember anything, because as a team we usually struggle with Copa del Rey. Co-
I do remember like there
Uh,
was a match where Hazard, performed quite well. I remember that because that's where he got the name of it's Hazard's trophy or something like that. I do remember. I think it was in the first game of the tournament or in the second game. I can't recall which one it was because I think we played 3 games in total last year, right? Round of
I
16,
think
round of 30.
I think we play the game that you are trying to recall was Alcorcon. I will say so because I think it was the Alcoyano or Alcorcon, either of those, because 1 year prior they beat us.
Ah, exactly.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I remember. I think I remember that now. So I remember that game where Hazard had a good game. Well, also I think I watched the Bilbao match because it was like we played Bilbao twice in a couple of days, and it was
mhm.
in the second one that happened. And you're right, actually, it was a very drop game, and Bilbao actually were pushing and pushing, and they scored in the 9 minutes. I can't recall exactly the game, but I do remember like that heartbreak of that. But you're right, actually, in the game we actually weren't deserving to get anything from the game, honestly. Like Bilbao was much more better and were more good. So yeah, I do think that. Well, I mean that's the thing. Like we've honestly, I think that's the reason why we just can't do the treble because like we've been, like historically really bad in this tournament, honestly. So yeah, that's that. Honestly, I hope we can change our fortunes starting from I think Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken, when the first game will be of the tournament. Hopefully, we can get better fortune in this tournament. Hopefully.
Yeah. Doris, I will give you a question. So, do you think that being out of the Copa del Rey so early last year help us to focus on La Liga and Champions, or do you feel like there was a mistake and this year we need to push for every single trophy that we play?
Last year was
Last
a
year, yeah,
yeah. Actually,
that's the thing. You need to prioritize some tournaments. So Real Madrid has always prioritized uh, Champions League and then La Liga and then Copa. It's always been like that for Real Madrid. And yeah, for me, it's a shame that we didn't win the famous Sextete, and being the only tournament that we didn't win is La Copa. It's a pain in the ass, but if I have to choose winning, like 10 Copa del Rey straight or one Champions League, I will say always a Champions League. And I think it's the same for our team, the manager and the president. Everyone wants to win a Champions League. And La Copa, it's a tournament that we have to play. But yeah. So, Farouk, do you want to add
yeah,
something else?
honestly, like while I totally get your sentiment, like one of the biggest thing I always regretted during the Zidane era was the fact that we were unable to win the champion. And that's just because of what you just mentioned right now. Honestly, like I feel like there's this I don't care attitude from our players, even from our fans, myself included. Like about when it's the Copa game, oh, it's just a Copa game. Like we literally don't put that, because the thing is like Real Madrid is a team that is built to win cups. Like we are the ultimate cup team. But that spirit, that never see that attitude does just not come, in the Copa del Rey anymore, honestly. Because I would say, like, I think the last Copa that maybe okay, like the one against Barcelona with the goal from Gareth Bale. But I mean, you would, at least for me, I would say like the only Copa I will actually proudly flaunt is the one we won in 2012. With sorry, it's 2011. If I'm not mistaken, 2011. With the goal from Cristiano, that header from Cristiano in the extra.
Cristiano.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's the only Copa I will literally, beat my hand to my chest and, oh yeah, we won the Copa. But other than that, I would not, care about that trophy that much. But I think, yeah, also it's also, about the fact that when we look at our squad, like like except for the Zidane era, like our squad right now is not that deep to be able to to put resources all around, to say we want to play the Copa, we want to play the Champions League, and we also want to play the what's it called, the league as well. So it's gonna really stretch us thin. So it's about prioritizing as well, as you said. So yeah, I mean, for now, even as just what you said, like 10 Copas across one Champions League, for sure, I think they want to see the UCL every time of the day.
Yeah, it is what it is. The Copa is. no longer an exciting trophy for us, because like you said, it was exciting when was our only option to win anything. Because if you remember, that Barcelona was too strong in La Liga,
Yeah,
was too strong for us, and in Europe we were getting back eliminations in the round on 16. So yeah, that was very special for us. It's great for us that now in this 2023 we we don't care about that much. This is, I would say, a good sign, but for us, the Real Madrid history tends to glorify winning everything. In
yeah.
that regard, uh, I will do a segue to my next highlight of the year. For me, it was probably the the mother of all highlights. You know, the best of the best, the creme de la creme, the Champions League knockout stages. I will round up the games against Paris, Chelsea, and Man City as a whole concept, if you guys don't mind, because we can talk about each of those individual, um, games as something very special for us. Each of those games meant something. Starting in Paris against Paris, uh, being completely washed out of the game, we somehow managed to lose only 1-0 with a great penalty save for Thibaut, and we end up with a penalty kick for Karim in the last game against City to seal our pass to the final against Liverpool. So, I will start with you, Doris. If you want to summarize the whole, knockout stages, or if you want to pinpoint a game or any particular uh, thing that you want to highlight even more, we can talk
Uh,
about these
of
games
course,
all day long, I will think.
I agree with you. Let us know if you can hear the audio properly now in the chat, please. And for your question, yeah, like all those games were just incredible and one of the best Champions Leagues runs ever, and definitely one of the most entertaining ones. Um, uh, like even the rival fans had to admit how crazy those games were, and of course I would like to pinpoint some players. As we all know, like Vinicius, just from like even last season, like the season before the 2022 one, he showed some improvements, but no one could have expected him to do what he did last season in the Champions League and in the Liga, of course. And uh, Vinicius is probably our biggest and like our biggest star in our team, definitely, actually. And who could forget Karim winning the Ballon d'Or? I mean, the entire team should be proud of themselves for getting him that, and vice versa, because Benzema saved our asses multiple times last season, and especially in the Champions League. I wouldn't say that it's fair to say that we won it only because of him, because that's not true, but he was like one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, together with Vini for last season. Also Lukita, I mean, who can forget the pass to Rodrigo for Chelsea game, and the tackle he did on Messi for PSG second leg. Like those were probably my highlights of the knockout stages. In the final, I mean, come on, who if you told me before that Vinicius would get us to the final and score the winning goal in the final, I would have never believed you. If you told me that like 3 years ago that it will happen in 2022, I would not believe you, and I don't think there's a person on this planet that would have believed you there. And of course, Valverde showed us last season how good he is, but I think this is his time to shine now. Like Vinicius had last season, and I think Valverde will be the one for this season. What do you guys have to say?
Yeah, interesting, interesting. For me, I will go with so I will select two things. I will select a moment and a match. So for a
Yeah,
match,
yeah.
the second leg against Paris, as Javier led the background role for which, started with the first leg in Paris. We lost just 1-0 to the, incredible goal from Kylian Mbappe, on the back of the Thibaut Silva penalty from Leo Messi. And then we went into the second leg, we were still 1-0 down. And then, Benzema did what Benzema does, and Paris does what they do as well. So I think that was a game that, sprung us to life and gave us the belief that we can do this. We can, like, because the point is like, we had lots of, new players in the team, the likes of Ferland Mendy, Thibaut Courtois, David Alaba, Vini Jr., Rodrigo, just to name a few, who weren't part of that three-peat, who did not, have that mentality under the Zidane regime. But I feel like that game, actually, brought that, showed them that side of Real Madrid, like made them understand what this meant for the club. So I feel like that game was a turning point, in my opinion, for our UCL campaign. And obviously, if we had lost the game, we were totally out as well. So I feel like that was a game that actually made us all believe that, even though, like, for example, in the City game, we were literally dead and buried in the 90 minutes, but we still moved on with the belief and scored literally two goals in the space of 1 minute of extra time. So yeah, I think so. I think that game was really key, and it was really crucial actually. And also, I think one of the key things also is about the fact that it was Benzema who scored all three goals. He was the captain, and he showed, by leading by example. Made the whole of Europe, the whole of even the team as well. Because honestly, like, a lot of our fan base has always doubted Karim Benzema's ability. Like, so that also showed, he made everyone realize, it's brought to light that, okay, this is the guy. This is the person who's going to lead us to promised land. And I would say my moment also involves Karim Benzema as well. It's going to be the Panenka at their chat as well, because if I'm not mistaken, Benz had missed, I think, three penalties and five. He actually missed the last two penalties. If
Exactly.
I'm Yeah, he
Yeah,
missed the last two penalties he had taken, and he had
In the
missed a
same
total
yeah,
of
game.
yeah.
four.
In the same week.
Oh,
Exactly,
same
in the
week.
same week. Yeah, yeah, I know. At the weekend, he missed two penalties. In the same match against the same goalkeeper. And
Yeah.
then if I'm not mistaken, he
Yeah,
had
yeah.
missed three penalties. He has missed three of the last five penalties he had taken before that. And the audacity, the balls, to take that at that point, in that ice cold moment, when with all the pressure and all that. So for me, I would say that was my single individual moment of the knockout stage. Honestly, like, that Paranka is something that I will never get tired of watching. Honestly, like, it was, well executed, and it befits the scenario, with all the pressure and everything on the line. It just shows how much gutsy and ballsy you are to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, it was a very special moment that, like you said, we're down 4-2 until that moment in that game. So if you lose, if you miss that penalty, that's probably will be done deal. But scoring that will give us the motivation to almost all players. If you guys remember when doing the interviews, like saying like the feeling was even that almost Real Madrid won that game.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that important of that inflection point. I will say for me, if I have to summarize these knockout stages, for me the crucial moment in a game was the back-to-back saves of Ferland Mendy and then Thibaut Courtois against Grealish in
Yes.
the game against
Yeah.
City. Just to name another special moment because I could go with the Doris one or even yours. What all of them were very special, and a crucial player for me, I will say, is Carletos. Carleto is my special player because he bring uh, Rodrigo and Eduardo in the game against Chelsea when we somehow managed to being beat down by by this Chelsea team that wasn't that strong, you know, and he made the changes. But then, especially once again in the game against City, we end up the game with a defense with Nacho, Vallejo, Lucas Vasquez, and I don't remember the other. I would think it's Mendy, probably, but it was a back line of for four guys that don't know how to play together, and they all are substitutions, you know,
Mm.
and they try out one of the most, if not the most, attacking force until that moment that was Manchester City. So that defense in that moment with like this Thibaut Courtois, I could name also the one that saves from I think is Phil Foden, a header or something like that. He managed to save us so many times in the games against, especially against City. I would say Thibaut was in the whole knockout the best player, even more than Karim. Karim scores the goals, but but Thibaut saved us from the get-go against the penalty against Messi. If you guys remember, he saves a screamer for Aspiricueta in London, and then somehow managed to save 3 or 4 against Chelsea in home. He saved, I would say, probably his worst game was against City in Manchester, but he saved us time and time again in the Bernabeu against City. So if I have to summarize, I will say Ancelotti's for his manager capabilities. So, like I said, we can talk about the knockout stages all day long, but we have to move on to our next highlight, and is the game against Espanyol in La Liga. It was the game when we mathematically win La Liga. So, if you guys don't remember, I will refresh your memories. Was an easy 4-0 victory in the Bernabeu, scoring Rodrigo twice, Asensio, and then Karim. If you if you guys, I will go to you, Doris, first. If you want to summarize the whole La Liga, or if you want to talk about that game in particular, is your choice.
I don't remember the game exactly. I think it's the one where Rodrigo. I was mad that Rodrigo wasn't let to finish his hat trick, but I don't remember the game exactly. But it doesn't matter. For the season, last season, I would have to say it is, one of the most fun ones I've had watching. Because throughout the season, I always felt like the team is finally strong on its own, and I didn't know what it will look like, when our older players leave, but our younger players were doing just fine, and that was really exciting to watch throughout the whole year, and even like this season, if we're going by year 2022, like our younger players are like a real bright spot in the team, and last season I would have to say like one of like the biggest moments we've had in the first half of the season was that Vinicius goal. Like everyone was talking about it, and we all got hyped after that game. Like we started believing, like, okay, let's do this. Meaning, like, show us something, and everything like went better and better and better. So yeah, I would have to say like actually that Sevilla game, I think it was like in November or something like that. It really started uh, then. Like that's when everything started, and the entire year of 2022 has been getting better and better from our team. Even now, like last season, we were really dependent on Benzema, and in the first half of this season, we've shown that we can deal with his absence. Not incredibly, like we're not gonna win against every team, but still, like we have many bright spots that we didn't have like 2 or 3 seasons ago, or we thought we did, but we didn't.
Yeah, very very valid
So,
point. I will say though,
Farouk,
like yeah, sorry, go on, Javier.
so I will give you a question if you want to add on what Dory said or you want to answer it.
Yeah, just
So, do you prefer winning La Liga like we win it last year with uh, a huge difference all year around? I think we start being the first. If you guys remember, I will think it was either Rayo or Real Sociedad the first week that was as a leader. And when we put ourselves in the first place, we'll never lose that first place. Some teams were close, and then by February until March, it was almost done deal. I think it was like 20 points for the second team. Do you want that, Farouk? Like an easy La Liga win, or do you prefer like this year that we're in almost in the middle of the season, La Liga season, and we're tied in points with Barcelona, and we expect that this Barcelona will have our hand head to head until probably May. For you, what's better as a fan? But if you want to add on the 2022 campaign.
Firstly, so I would say it is just about the match you asked. Firstly, the game against Espanyol where we won. I actually felt like that was a game of champions. Honestly, like whoever watched the game could see, like how much we were in full flow. It was a really really good game. I do remember that game very well. It was a game that we could have scored 5, 6. Like and Karim was actually trying so hard to score. I don't know if you guys could recall, but eventually he got the last goal of the game, which was the fourth goal. It was really, it was a perfect, end to it because like last season, although we won the league, honestly, like there were games where like we just coasted through, like we literally weren't at our best, and I mean that's one thing we can always pinpoint about Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti's second comment is that we don't always have to be at our best to win games, which is really honestly a very good thing. So there is that as well. But coming back to your question, Javier, about that, I personally would choose to win the league in the easy way, with a lot of points, a lot of games to spare and what is not. Because honestly, that way you can get to spread your squad easier. And even if you go through a rough patch, I think you guys maybe could recall. I think last year was in February or when we had a very rough patch where I think we had some, was it a loss to Mallorca or something like that? I can't recall whether it was Espanyol or Mallorca. I can't recall. Or there was a sport where we a period where we had a rough patch. But the only reason why we were able to have such a rough patch was because of the first half of the season was really good. We've laid the foundation, the background for all this. So honestly, like personally, I would choose to have the easier path. I know it might be boring. Well, I mean, yeah, boringness wins you title eventually. That's the whole thing there.
I, I think that we should be proud that we even can answer this question. But yeah, a viewer said that Elamas ESD said always easy, my friend, always, and I agree with him. Like it's still nicer to keep all my hair throughout the year. um, exactly, the bench is not strong enough to be challenging for del Rey as well, and I agree with that. And like tomorrow, we will see for the first time some of our Castilla players. I don't know if any of you can introduce us to them, but tomorrow we will get to see some. Hopefully, that will help us, to go further than the round of 32. Um, the season we won the double wearing the purple shirt with Zizou was the year for a treble. The moment we got the round of 16 draw, at first Real drew a decent team, and then all of a sudden UEFA changed the draw and we got PSG. The power that we tried to take us out, but no, no. I agree with you. Like it was sus when that draw happened, but you know, I think it was in the script for us to, you know, win against PSG. You know, given everything with Mbappe and all that season. Continue, Javier, please. You were saying.
I will say for you and our audience the difference between winning an easy La Liga or win an easy Champions League. That's I would prefer. Like I will also want to keep my hair and my heart for a heart attack. But if you somehow know that the result is that you're gonna be champion, 10 out of 10 we will choose the hard way because that's the thing that make the trophy memorable. So that being said, I will move on to the next highlight of the 2022 campaign, and was another hard attack game. Was of course the Champions League final
Oof.
against Liverpool. So I will start with you, Farouk, and I will ask you a question and probably a rhetorical one, but if you want to elaborate. Was Thibaut Courtois the best performer ever in a Champions League final?
It's the best I've ever seen. I think it's the best performance from any individual player in the Champions League finals I've ever seen. Because you go back and you try to remember. Like I remember Dino in 2006. Dino was really good in 2006 final. You go back and you try to remember. Steven Gerrard against AC Milan. You know, what else can we see? Like we remember with Cristiano against Juventus as well. It was a really good performance for Cristiano. What else can we see? Maybe we can see Gareth Bale's goals off the bench against Liverpool. Uh, what other final can I remember? What other final? I mean, Barcelona was really good against Manchester United, but it was a team performance rather than an individualistic one. So I'm just trying to remember like the finals I had seen and seeing which one is. But honestly, like I can't recall off the top of my head any better individual performance in a final than what Thibaut Courtois has actually showed against Liverpool. Honestly, I feel like that was for me personally that was the highlight of the game because I feel like the game was quite drab. It was really, really, a cagey affair. But the performance of Thibaut Courtois is something that will go down in history, and it's gonna be shown in goalkeeping school, and you can understand that this is what the art of goalkeeping is. Honestly, like forget about all the fancy building from the back, being the 11th player and all this and all that. First and foremost, your job is to win the points for your team, is to win the game for your team, to stop out even the unstoppable. You look at the shot from Mane, you look at the last, almost towards the end of the game, the chance from Mo Salah, like those are saves that you should not be making. Those are saves that you should not be making, but Thibaut is here, like making those saves and making them look so easy. So yeah, I think in my recent memory, I think that would be the best individual performance I have seen in a Champions League final game.
Yeah, of course. Moving on, Doris. what do you think about the Champions League final game? In terms of the whole game, you it seems like we played like what Real Madrid wants. Because if you remember, the game was a lot of attacks by Liverpool, but the we also have our chances and we play counter attack. Do you think that we play what Real Madrid want or what Liverpool wants, and was pure luck that we have Thibaut and the game? Sorry, the play with Fede and Vini was, pure luck. What do you recall of the game as a whole?
I do not agree that the play was pure luck, and I saw like some of those takes like on internet, and it pisses me off that there are people that think that we didn't deserve to win that game, because I don't think that we played any differently than we did before. Like you saw us every game playing exactly like this, letting the other team play against us, and I don't think how winning every game up until now, not every game but every tie up until now, the exact same way, but suddenly we don't deserve it in the final. Like it made no sense. Like we played the way we played before that, and we won with that tactic, you know. And I don't know. I think it's just salty PL fans probably, or Liverpool fans, but it's normal for teams to be salty and their fans. Um, I just didn't agree with the entire narrative of the final, and how the media and some pundits took it. I think it was actually kind of embarrassing for someone that says they know football, and try to form expert opinions, and then just say stuff like that. I think it's ridiculous. But apart from that, like we had to defend like quite a lot in that game, and that wasn't different from City or Chelsea or PSG, definitely. And Liverpool had a lot of shots, same as every other team. And Courtois, after all those games, he did incredibly. Like, as you said, probably one of the best performances in a final ever. And I don't know why it's okay to exclude Thibaut when we talk about the best player, as if he's not part of our team, like he's some separate entity that saved us from a loss. Like he is still part of the team. He is part of our 11 players, and he was definitely responsible for winning us the Champions League title. But we shouldn't forget like the game our players gave Li- Liverpool that day. Like they had many shots, but none of them were actually dangerous. Like Mane had a good shot that Courtois saved with the tip of his hand, that hit the post and then almost went in. Like that was a big shot, and maybe Salah's, but all of them were like really good saves. If you ask me, like we are the ones that scored 2 goals that game. 2 goals, not one, but 2 goals, and one of them was rolled off. Like if it was just one, and okay, like it was a tapping for Vinny, all right, but like before that, we already scored a goal that should have stood. By the way, so I don't think it's fair to say that we didn't deserve it, or that we won in a weird way. And I think it will probably be the one I remember the most fondly. This trophy, our 14th one.
Honestly, like I would just add to what Doris has said. Like honestly, like I personally believe that anyone who goes and watches the final or like watches the Champions League run and comes and be like, oh, Real Madrid don't deserve to win that. I think then they actually don't understand what football is. You understand? Like I
Exactly.
also like enjoy watching the final. Like it wasn't like something that filled me up with adrenaline and anything. But that's how it is. This is what you call game management, and literally every single final is like this. You can go back to even our victories against Atletico Madrid. You can go back to even what's it called, the game, even our first game against Liverpool, was a cagey game. Just Gareth Bale had a moment of individual brilliance, and also with errors from Loris Karius. You can even go its own triumph in the Champions League as well. It was against Spurs, and it was a really tough final, honestly. So I mean, this is how these tournaments are won. I mean, you can go even back and see how Portugal won the Euros, how Argentina won the Copa. These are what experienced teams do in the in this moments and this finals as well. So honestly, like I personally believe that if someone is coming and saying like Real don't deserve to win this, I actually will just say to them
Yeah.
that yeah, understand what football is, in my opinion.
There are very few things you can do, especially in a final, that I would say that you didn't deserve to win, and that's only like referees and stuff like that. Like, whatever your tactic is, even if it's terrorist football, if you win, you won. Like, a winner is a winner. There are 90 minutes in the game. You just have to find a way to win.
Exactly, that's just it. That's just it. Like it's 90 minutes in a game, so you just have to come up and show what you want to do. And honestly, like, so yeah, that's it. And I think that the most important thing about what Doris's point about is that this is not like Real Madrid all of a sudden became this. No, I mean this is how we played
Yeah,
against Paris. This is how we played against Chelsea. This is why Chelsea came back from from the 3-1 game and actually was able to equalize. This is how we played against City as well. So it was nothing new, but yeah, obviously, like people are gonna say whatever it is that they want to say.
exactly.
About that, like really, it's really no force on us, in my opinion. Like it's just what it is. People will say whatever it is they want to say, and especially the British pundits and the guys from ESPN, especially, would always have something to say against Real Madrid. So yeah, that's just it. It is what it is, unfortunately.
Okay, so I think I'm on again. Sorry if I disconnect. There was a bit of a struggle with the network. I think you both comment this, but for me, the Champions League in the final as itself was the cherry on top of the cake of a season when we always have this ghost, even though if we won it 14 times, uh, that uh, like they said, you win, but you don't face the best teams, and we face the best teams, the best team in France, the current champion, the so on called the best team in the world, and then they're still saying like, oh, you win out of pure luck, or you win it because you have so much in your favor, but you're gonna face Liverpool in the final. It's not 2 games, it's 1 game, and we still beat them. So for me, it was the
Exactly.
summarize of the, you cannot say anything more, if even if you put like the best 11 in the world,
Yeah,
if you somehow can manage to bring players for other teams and put on a red shirt for Liverpool, we're probably gonna win it
exactly,
because the 2022 was perfect in all regards. That team was perfect.
Yeah.
Even if we somehow lose more games that we won, the fact that is, it doesn't matter. You need to win the the big game, and we win the big game. But
By the
prior
way,
to that,
a few hours ago, Liverpool lost 3-1 to Brentford. By the way, I just saw that. I would
yeah,
like
yeah,
to.
Liverpool, we're
Yeah,
gonna face them again,
I know. Yeah.
uh, and this time it's probably gonna be, in the same regard. Oh, this Liverpool is not strong enough, but it's still a huge team, and we're gonna face it like it is. I will, in the same regard like we're saying in the La Liga, that I prefer to win the easy way, even in the Champions League. Beat 5-0 in Liverpool, and 7-0 in the Bernabeu, but I know that it's not gonna happen. We 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 tend to equalize whatever is in front of us. You know, if Liverpool is playing shit, we're gonna play shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the way it is. So, Farouk, moving on, I want to quickly summarize a highlight of the year. It was 2022 was the goodbye for two legends of the Real Madrid team. Other players go, but for me it was special because we have in the first captain of the team, who was Marcelo. Even though he wasn't playing that much, he was a true legend of the game, one of the best left backs of his generation, and I think he ended up being the second player with most appearances, not being born in Spain,
Exactly. Yeah.
the most trophy winning player ever in the history of Real Madrid. And then the polar opposite. For me, it's a legend. Even no matter what they say for the last 3 or 4 seasons, for me, Gareth Bale is a Real Madrid legend. So I will give you the hard point first, Farouk. Talk about the goodbye of the two legends, but if you don't mind, starting with Gareth Bale.
Yeah, honestly, that's the thing, like Gareth Bale, unfortunately, in the last days, really like wasn't in the very best, behavior of what you would want a Real Madrid player of his stature, a Real Madrid legend to be like, unfortunately, that was a very bad way to end it eventually. But one thing I would say for sure is this, honestly, like Gareth Bale, has given us individual highlights, even away from, the consistent performances over the years, just those individual highlights, you want to go to the game against Barcelona, and the most importantly, in the game against Atleti, for the La Decima, like it was I don't even, words cannot quantify what that, I mean, that single moment alone, cements the legacy of Gareth Bale, like even not just that, I don't know if you guys could recall, like it was a season where we had the orange jersey, like it was a game we played against Schalke where he had 2 goals, Benzema 2 goals, Ronaldo 2 goals. I mean, those moments, those individual plays, and you go to the game against Bayern Munich, how the fast, the break, although he didn't score, but, you could see like he had the pass for, Cristiano's, I think, second goal, was it, or something like that. I can't recall what it was, but like it was the moments he's given us. Then you go to the Champions League final against Liverpool. He came off the bench, really angry and annoyed that Zidane wasn't starting him, and he showed the kind of the caliber of the player he is. Although the second goal was a mishap from Karius, but you can only give. I mean, you miss the shots you don't take. That's the thing. Like he shot a shot and it happened. So honestly, like what Gareth Bale, like epitomizes, although for a lot of fans recently, unfortunately, like when people have short memories or like where it's easy to taint the idea of a player, with them. It's I can understand some frustrations, but I mean that wouldn't lead me to disregard all that Gareth Bale has done for Real Madrid, towards the end of his career, honestly. And it's even really outrageous that since Gareth Bale moved to Real Madrid in 2013, he has just one trophyless season, and that was the season he spent with Spurs on loan. Imagine, honestly, like people will take it as a shade at Spurs, but it's not a shade at Spurs. You can imagine, that's just, what, and whether you like it or not, honestly, the arrival of Gareth Bale actually completed that, because as Javier rightly pointed out before, earlier in the show, he was saying like, we kept on getting knocked out in the round of 16, round of 16, round of 16, Mourinho came, he changed that. We went to the semi-final. I think we went to 4 semi-finals, if I'm not mistaken. Either 3 or 4, I am not sure.
3 in a row, yeah.
Exactly. We went consecutively to semi-finals, but we weren't able to break to that next level, you understand? But with the arrival of Gareth Bale, like, he was definitely a catalyst, for us to be able to, break that barrier. Obviously, like, not to disregard what everyone else has done, but, he was that, I feel like, that final key piece, and also with the reinvention of Di Maria in the midfield, he was really, really crucial to the winning of the SEMA. So I feel like just for me, at least personally, at least just even for his role in the La Decima, he has been eternalized, immortalized, and then as I said, like he has given us an individual rules. Like I forgot there was a game we played against a team where the stadium was empty. I forgot what the name of the team was, but I don't know if you guys could recall. Like he had a bicycle kick from outside of the
Yeah,
pitch.
yeah, yeah. I think was in either a Russian team.
I can't remember, honestly, I can't remember what it was, but we had that. I think there was a volley against Borussia Dortmund. Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, there
in the
was a
same season.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was a game also against Bayern Munich, like it wasn't the 4-0. I think it wasn't in the La Decima. I think it was the first one or the second one with with Zidane, where
Yeah,
we literally played the role of a fullback, of a right back, covering together with Danny Carvajal, just to shut down the wing, with Ribery and Ruben, just falling down the wings back then. So like, I mean, Gareth Bale has been a very, very good servant of the club, doing whatever is needed of him, putting his head down, putting in the shift, doing the work, and also having the output as well. So honestly, like, whatever I say wouldn't do enough justice for Gareth Bale, because although everyone has said things, myself included, about Gareth Bale and what is not, the stats says everything, not just even the stats, the trophy says everything. And anyone who's actually watched Gareth Bale, I think till
yeah,
2016 or 2017 maybe, will understand that, yeah, Gareth Bale actually, he's the player. He was worth every single penny of that. I think it was 89 million pounds or whatever it was back then that Flo Perez paid for him. He was worth every single dime of it, and honestly, he has given us eternal memories, and he will be forever remembered as a Real Madrid legend, rightfully so.
yeah. I will say that time will put Gareth Bale in his rightful place in our history. Like you said, this is one of a big game player. He immediately made his impact. Immediately was a special addition to the attacking. Like you said, in his first season, he scores the winning goal against Barcelona in a Copa final, and then he scores the winning goal in a Champions League. But it wasn't his only Champions League final goal. Like you said, he scored twice against Liverpool. No, no, I was trying to remember players that scored twice in a Champions League final, and it's a hard thing to remember. This guy, if you count the penalty against Atletico in the penalty kicks, you can add on even one more. And the only final that he wasn't that important was against Juventus in Cardiff, his hometown.
Yeah.
But even if he wasn't playing, he put all the country in our favor just to be in our team. So for me, like I said, time will put Gareth Bale in his rightful place as a legend. We were gonna move past this golf Wales Madrid era behind us and put like he truly is one of the best wingers that we ever have. So moving to the other legendaries, uh, a lot of his start, I think, in was a winter window buy. I will think 2007 or 8. I don't remember that well, but he was trying to fill the place of Roberto Carlos. That's how important was Marcelo. He came to substitute Roberto Carlos and somehow managed to do it even better. Probably not in terms of the peak, or in terms of trophies, importance in the team, everything. So, what do you think is I will say, like, the position of of Marcelo in the history of our team? Where do you put Marcelo, Doris?
Uh, Marcelo is probably one of, if not the, like, top five biggest legends in Madrid's history. I mean, 25 trophies for Madrid. That speaks something, especially of what kind of player that was. He was there for everything. and it speaks a lot that the man himself, Roberto Carlos, said multiple times that he thinks he was that Marcelo is better than him, and that's probably being nice, as a friend, but still he is he was one of the best le- left backs in history of the game. Maybe not the best defender as people always criticize him, but it's Marcelo. I mean, we all know who he is and what he did for us. I mean, if we just read out his trophies, it's five Spanish Super Cups, two Copas, six La Liga titles, three Super Cups, four World Cups, and five Champions Leagues. I mean, you don't have to say much more about that player, and we all know how we all fell in love with the way he played and the connections he made with some of our players. And a lot of kids, I remember when I was younger, aspired to be like him, and everyone knew who Marcelo is.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Doris's, point, and really, like, we always watch those YouTube compilations of Roberto Carlos, and like there was even this famous Pepsi ad, with the Brazilian national team and Carlos, like Carlos was always that kind of, I don't know what to put it, but it was like, like the Maradona of fullbacks, the Pele of fullbacks, what
Yeah.
people, place there, honestly. So, coming and being lucky, to watch a player like Marcelo, in his prime. And when, I was able to understand what football was, it was an honor, honestly. Like, I wouldn't say it's a pleasure because I think it's much more than that, really. It's an honor, to be able to tell people that actually, yeah, I watched Marcelo, he was playing for the team I supported, we saw those games. And honestly, back to just one point George really brushed on was the fact that, like people are saying he's weak defensively or like that. I think it's not the point because the point is the best form of defense is attack, right? When
Yeah.
Ronaldo and Marcelo were
True.
pet, no one did attacks them. No one did. Because the point is when you're playing against Marcelo and Ronaldo, the only thoughts, not the first thoughts, the only thing you think about is how can I defend these people? So
Exactly.
like he played with Ronaldo, I think, for 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. It actually they created that bond, that thing. So like the departure of Ronaldo, not only affected the team as a whole, it also affected the way Marcelo knew how to play football. Because like if we could recall right, Marcelo was very young when Ronaldo joined the team, and then also, Marcelo was 50-50 with, at a point with Coentrao, and then later, like all of a sudden he became a full monster, so like he was able to play with Cristiano for such a long time that he actually developed and developed play based on his partnership with Cristiano, So when Cristiano left, it was like he had to learn how to play football again. But then the point is, he's no longer 20. He's no longer 25. He was, I think, 29 or 30 when Cristiano left. So it was a very, very hard time for him as well. But honestly, that doesn't take anything away from Marcelo. Honestly, he remains for me like honestly like my OG fullback, like ahead of every single person, Alves, Ronaldo, whoever, sorry, Carlos, whoever it is. Honestly, like
So, okay.
Yeah, that for me the summarize the career. Well, Marcelo is not retired, but most technically he is. But to summarize his career, he started very young, very young. I think he was like 17 when he came from Brazil, and he ended up being the first captain. Like I said earlier, uh, if you're gonna say goodbye to the team of your love, uh, there's no better way to doing so like in the stadium full of your fans chanting your name, being the first captain, saying goodbye, lifting off the Champions League trophy.
Exactly.
Real Madrid is sadly is a team that doesn't know how to say goodbye to legends very well, and so often than not, we're not doing it properly. We don't do it properly with Casillas, and we didn't do it properly with Ramos, and we didn't properly with Raúl. And those were captains, very important captains in the history of our team, and we managed to do it poorly. But the way that the Real Madrid and also Marcelo, because you have to put yourself, uh, you have to be 50-50 that in a way that somehow works. But the way that Real Madrid did it and Marcelo did it and ended up wonderful. I expect the same in regards of Karim. I'm not worried because Modric is definitely gonna do in the best way possible. But this is the way that, as an institution, you you put your legends in a pedestal when they should be. And for me, that's the even more in the history of Marcelo, being the most condecorated player. Probably not the best, but he didn't need to be one. And he almost not played for the last 2 seasons. It doesn't matter. He ended up his career as a Real Madrid player in the best way possible, lifting a trophy in the Santiago Bernabeu full. And for me, uh, that's the only way that we should say goodbye to a legend. So, guys, moving on, just if you want to make this quick, Super European Cup against Frankfurt. Uh, the last game of another legend, Casemiro. If you guys remember this trophy, sometimes they put it in the 2022, 21-22 season, sorry, or the 22-23. For me, it's the 21-22 because it's the end of the last season, but it doesn't matter. We win it. I think it was Lava first score with a pass from Casemiro itself, and I don't remember who scored the second goal. But I will go to you, Doris. What do you think of the Super European Cup as a whole? What what importance do you put that trophy in the regards of the six major trophies that we play? And if you want to add something about winning that game.
Yeah, of course, it was nice to start the season with a win, even though it was still played in August, I think, in the first half of August. I'm usually pretty busy at that time, but yeah, I love the game. Of course, it was Casemiro's last game, and uh, it's difficult when you think about it. In retrospect, leaving a player like that, but that's a topic on its own. The game itself, of course, as I said, it was nice to start well, and both Alaba and Benzema scored that game. So yeah, it was a good game from what I remember, and it made our season, a bit more explosive in the beginning. I guess, especially with Valverde. It was a nice game to start the season on. And
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
totally echo that out. So I think the last sentence you had there, it was a nice game because like I do remember, like, I think the name of the guy was Matt. We had Matt from I can't pronounce the name of the Frankfurt podcast. But yeah, we had and honestly, like, I was saying to the guys, like, I hope it's not just a one-sided affair. And although, like, the scoreline would said it's a 2-0, so you might assume it's just a one-way traffic. But it was a really really good warm-up game because, like, Frankfurt honestly just they gave they were in the game. Actually, they actually gave the they showed up honestly, and they gave Real Madrid a fight. So it wasn't just a single one-sided affair. Honestly, it was a good way to start the season, and there's no better way to start the season than also by, yeah, it was both a test for the guys, and also it was a moral booster in the sense that you won a trophy. So it's just one more one more step in your shoes as well. So yeah, it was a good thing.
Uh, Probably nothing more to add. Just we didn't know at that time, but it was the last game for Casemiro. We're try. I think we remember to you guys. It was around the time that I I joined the podcast. So we're talking like, oh, Chouameni is gonna replace Casemiro, but eventually, in time. But 2 weeks later was the last game of Casemiro. Was a very important game for him because he, like we said, like Gareth Bale, he's a true big game player. Casemiro has always been a big game player. Sorry. So it was the end of an era because it was the end of the CKM, Casemiro, Modric Cross, was the end of an era. And we
KC.
say like, yeah, yeah. If you guys remember the the winning streak with Zidane start with that midfield, and we all say like, oh, whenever this midfield ends, it's gonna be the end of us, you know there's no way we can somehow manage to have as a strong midfield as we used. And we think that the first one to leave is going to be Modric in terms of age. We speculate that Casemiro is going to be here for the long run and was the first one to leave. So that being said, Modric and Kroos end the contract in 2023. I expect at least one more season of Modric. I think it's almost a done deal. Uh, but that being said, the rumors are that uh, Tony Kroos is going to retire at the end of this season. So even we have our best midfield. I will think it's no discussion. Those three were the best midfield ever in the history of Real Madrid as a whole, as a block. And that end of an era bring us to the new era of Valverde, the era of Chouameni, the era of Camavinga, and hopefully, and I will talk about this in the end of the show when I talk about the prospect of the future. You know, we speculate the return of Odegaard and also the add-on of Bellingham. But Real Madrid is a team that doesn't have the time to look back to our legends, and somehow we managed to properly give a goodbye to Casemiro. He ended up winning that game, and then moved to Manchester United, and he's doing somehow good in this struggling United. So probably is not the same regard as Marcelo, but another Brazilian legend moved this season. So the last highlight of the year, I don't know who is Doris or Farouk. Can you make the poll on YouTube so our viewers can name their favorite moment of the year? I will say the Champions League final winning the Champions League. Sorry, winning La Liga, or the next topic, Karim Benzema's Ballon d'Or. So I will start with you, Farouk. How how big of a season does Karim Benzema have? Like no one in the world doubt of Karim 2022 Ballon d'Or winner. If you guys remember, a lot of times there's a contendant, for God how knows long was Messi, either Messi or Ronaldo, but they somehow managed to be equal to each other. And then Modric win it in 2018. It was a lot of debate between him and Griezmann, and the controversy between Lewandowski and Messi. But when Karim was nominated to the 2022, no one in the world was doubtful that it's truly Karim. It's only Karim.
People were
So
saying
how
Sadio Mane, which was I don't know, it was something, and a lot of people were disappointed that Sadio didn't win, and I think it's ridiculous given the season Benzema had. Even though Sadio won the AFCON, right? I think the Champions League, 15 goals, how many Benzema had, is a bit, you know, bigger than that. And La Liga with it, you know. But I wouldn't say that no one else contested for the prize. And especially what Courtois said, there is no chance that a goalkeeper ever wins the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah,
Well,
sadly, because Courtois was impressive. But Farouk, do you think that I think you remember that you are one of the ones that saying like if Sane won the Champions League, it would probably go to Mane's side in the terms of the Ballon d'Or. Do you think that 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 game was the only difference, or do you think, putting the year in perspective, that it wasn't that big of a turnover that Benzema, for me, until that point, was already the favorite to win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, so I think you're totally right, Javier. Like I personally also share your sentiment that this is one of the most uncontested Ballon d'Ors ever. I share that sentiment, and I feel like a lot of people, will make a claim for Sadio Mane because of the, because of his impact, in his country winning the AFCON for the first time, and also they qualifying for the World Cup as well, which unfortunately he missed. But I think, okay, even if he had won the Champions League, it would have become a contest between him and Benzema. I feel. But I don't think that that game is just a difference. I think that game would have been a level. How would I say, like, make the playing field equal level, and then obviously it will be left to the voters to decide what happens or what doesn't happen. But one thing we know is this: like, everyone watches the Champions League. What with all due respect to the AFCON, honestly, like it doesn't carry the aura, it doesn't carry the value, it doesn't carry the sentiment that UEFA Champions League carries, And literally, like Karim Benzema literally carried not one of the, carried the biggest team in the history of this competition on his back, literally to the final. Like, I mean, figuratively, literally, whatever you mean, he did that. He literally picked Real Madrid and just placed them in the final in Paris. You know, when you look at the performances, and he wasn't just scoring 15 goals for scoring sake. Honestly, we can go back to see everyone who scored 15, even Ronaldo with 17. There were games where the goals were not needed. Honestly, but can anyone point to me a goal that Benzema scored that wasn't needed in the knockouts? I don't think there is any. There isn't. Every single goal counted for something. Every single one of them. So as I've said, honestly, like, I think a performance from Benzema in the last year Champions League for a team, for a winning team, I think very few players can match that in history. Very, very few players. And those players that only come to mind becomes Ronaldo, Messi. Those are the only two people I can imagine. And honestly, like, anyone who was making it, that's the thing, honestly, like, I don't know why, but there's a lot of, anti-Real Madrid agenda everywhere, honestly. Like, whatever you do, like, it's always been like, oh, but there is that, whatever I do, it's always going to be, oh, there is that. But honestly, like, there is no, as you said, Javier, there is no contests, once the Ballon d'Or shortlist was named and Benzema was on the list, like, there was no contests, nothing. I think Benzema won with the second largest voting gap in history, if I'm not mistaken. Either the second or the third, I'm not sure. Although I saw the chat that showed the voting, the thing. I think first was Messi, Cristiano, and Benzema, if I'm not mistaken. Like, those were the gaps in the history of Ballon d'Or. And I feel like even for Benzema should be more, but obviously, as you said, like, Mane winning a couple of, winning the AFCON and also qualifying his country for the World Cup as well, swayed some people. And also Liverpool competing for all 4 trophies on the last day of each tournament also added that. But yeah, like, Benzema's performance last year cannot just honestly cannot be quantified in any terms, because I think his performance, I think personally, like, obviously everyone has their own choice, but I think it's the greatest Champions League performance I've ever seen from any Real Madrid player. And I mean, that takes a lot, considering that Cristiano is like the ultimate Champions League man, honestly. But I never think like Cristiano had to pick up Real Madrid with this much effort that Karim did last year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the 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 key difference between this Karim and I would say not only in the Real Madrid history that he was the best player in a season of the Champions League. I will go saying that in terms of the history of the Champions League, not the European competition, like the Champions League, I don't remember anything that important, anyone that important, because like you said, he was important for the get-go. But I would add, I think that difference 2017, 18 Ronaldo to this Karim was the mindset because if like I said earlier, Marcelo being on the bench most of the games, the captain of the team was always Karim. You know, some people don't remember that Marcelo was the first team captain last year because he wasn't playing that often. But Karim played week end and week midweek every single game he played. Like we usually say, like he needs to rest. He needs to rest. He needs to come. Uh, don't play against anyone in La Liga. We need him. We need him. But he I would say that in his mind, he feels like I have to give it all because I have the potential to make history, and he made it. You know, he he bring the best performance in a knockout stages ever. He scored 15 goals. He lifted the trophy. He he almost single-handedly make Real Madrid champion. So I agree with you 100%. I think for me was the Ballon d'Or that I expect the most in terms of his legacy needed a Ballon d'Or, and I think Karim is gonna be remembered as one of, if not the best player, uh, not Spanish player to play in Real Madrid. I would say so because this season was so uh, so important that he maybe overshadows the 450 goals of Cristiano. It's that important this last season from Karim. So moving to the next topic is the Real Madrid awards. So the categories, if you want, I will name the category, and you guys, starting with Doris, you give me your choice, right? And if we all agree with the player, we can move on to the next category. And maybe if you're watching this, you can put your favorite player in the category in the chat. So uh,
Excuse me, for 2022, are we doing like the last half of last season and the first of this, or we doing just last season? It
I would
matters.
say it's better for us if you summarize the 2022 as a year, from January to December,
Okay,
not a season.
that's better. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Because it's a big
So
difference.
yeah, I will say so. So I'm not starting with the in the same, because I think the best player should be the last category for best young player. So under 23, you know, for me is Rodrigo. He was very important in the Champions League. We need him, and he he managed to put himself at the same level as Vini, or even surpass him in a few points. You know, we often denote that say like, oh, Vini is the future of Real Madrid, but we tend to forget that Rodrigo is 1 year younger, and he's also very important in our team. So for you, Doris,
I would agree with everything you said, just not that he was the best. I mean, I no no he is a great player, and he is everything you said, and we wouldn't have won the Champions League without him, obviously. But I think the same stands for Vinicius, and he was there week in, week out, every week in La Liga, in the Champions League, and just as you said, it was the same like as with Vinicius, but Vinicius was actually there like every week, so I would have to give it to him. And he scored in the Champions League final against City. You know, he had like some really good moments last season, and even this season, the way he started, we missed Benzema like quite a few games, and he was there. Like we can now actually like depend on Vinicius, which is crazy to say, but it is that like he is like our first 11 player.
Yeah.
Farouk, who is the best young player?
Actually, I was gonna go towards Camavinga, but honestly, Doris makes very compelling points, and I just want to shout out Camavinga here. The point is that
Same,
he moved
yes.
very at a very young age from a from a country to from a different country to a different country. You know, like when you also go to his background, he was a refugee and all that. You know, like it's really takes a lot. You know, although honestly, I don't believe in the age thing when it comes to football. As long as you're good enough, you can play. You know, that's the whole point. But you have to give him props, honestly, like because I also had a lot of reservations about the hype that was coming alongside him. But he actually showed me why people were hyping him so much, and honestly, credits due to him and similarly to Rodrigo as well. And the Champions League round is really it can be quantified honestly, like as you guys said before, like the Chelsea game, the City game. I think it was the Chelsea game where we ended the game without any of the midfielders, right? Any of Cruz
Yeah,
on the pitch, right? Yeah, so that tells you a lot that you need to know about Edu Camavinga. But on the other hand, as Doris has pointed out, like similar to Doris's claim as well, the best young player I think has no other option but to go to Vinicius, because the point is he started week in, week out, midweek, weekend, winter, summer.
Exactly.
He's always also come on clutch as well. Case in point, the goal in the Champions League final. You can also look at the tricky pulled on Fernandinho. Fernandinho is not he's a seasoned veteran. He's not a young player like that. He's a seasoned veteran. So for being to pull that upon him also says a lot. So yeah, I mean, my vote also goes to Vinicius.
okay, so we have two Vini, one Rodrigo. I will call it a win for Vini. And moving on to the next category, I will put the best defender. Starting with you, Farouk. Who is the best defender of the 2022 year?
I want to go Militao, but I'm gonna go Alaba because of the impact Alaba had on the team. Like I feel like the overall, not just the defending ability as well, but the overall like leadership, enthusiasm, the mentorship also he spread to the young players as well. So I'm just gonna lean towards David Alaba.
Okay, Doris.
Same thing. Just the chair moment was enough for everyone. I mean, it's not easy coming to a team that had Ramos in it as a captain and filling those shoes. And I'm not saying that he filled his shoes immediately or even now, but come on, like being a number four for Madrid means something now, and it will mean even more after Alaba leaves, because obviously it's a special position, and Militao had his ups ups and downs this year, and even with Brazil and all that, but it doesn't matter. I would say David Alaba deserves to be there a bit more. You could say like Mendy or Carvajal, and both of them have valid arguments to be picked them, but Carvajal wasn't the best defender we had, but we all know Dani and what he did for us, and also he assisted Rodrigo. He was there for like some important moments, and maybe he caused us some pain with some falls that he made. But yeah, I think it's just Alaba. He definitely takes the cake this 2022. And I'm not sure if it counts because he joined in 2021 while it was still 2021 the year. But yeah, it's Alaba for me.
Yeah, for me as well is Alaba. Like you both said, like making an impact after God knows, I think was like 15 years of Ramos, uh, trying to fill his place was so difficult, and he managed to do so. I, I think to remember that his first goal was against Barcelona, and like
Yeah.
Doris said, like the chair in the PSG game was so important. It almost seems like that was his first big game, and we need to remember that David Alaba has won everything that is ever in a club regards with Bayern, and it seems like a young kid, like playing his first big game. For me, that won it in my heart, but he performed so good in the defense in a partnership with Militao. In the first 6 months of the 2022, those two were unstoppable. Sadly, this second part of the 2022 was not that good for either of them. But yeah, Alaba is the best defender of the 2022 to three of us. So we're gonna move on to
Um,
the
Before you
category.
move on, Elama said, I'm not sure if it's for the highlight of 2022 or for the best young player, but he said Ka- Kamavinga came in the middle of the season, quite unknown to the mainstream, but what a gem. His beautiful long shot goal in La Liga, I think he's referring to the Sociedad game. His pass to Kareem against City for Rodrigo's goal, it has to be Kamavinga.
And also, in point of Camavinga, and also like Farouk said, Eduardo won the third place in the Copa World, like the third best in terms of the France football, the third best young player of the year. So that make a lot of sense that they praise Eduardo, and like I think the only difference is that for the Copa Award, I think it's under 21, so neither Vini or Rodrigo can compete. So moving on, Farouk, to the unusual hero or unexpected hero. Uh, this is a player that, like the title said, we don't expect to be the hero in a crucial moment. So if you can name the player and the game that for you was the unexpected hero.
I would say Nacho against City.
Okay.
I actually, felt like I don't know, like Nacho is always, I would say, a steady performer. Like you don't expect too much from him, but also you know that he's gonna do his best. Like he most likely wouldn't make a mistake and all that. But I felt like he was at a different level against City. He was at that level where you could feel like, okay, like if Nacho could play at this level, always he should be a starter for Real Madrid. I really feel like I would say that game would be. I'm trying to think of maybe any other one, but honestly, Nacho against City is something that pops to my mind directly.
Okay. So moving to you, Doris. If you can name your unexpected hero and the game that for you was the game that made him the unexpected hero.
Um, I would, I mean, I don't think there's a better game to mention than the City game when Rodrigo came on. I mean, there isn't a bigger hero moment in the entire 2022. But I want to say that is the unsung hero because we all know how good he is. So I would actually have to say Parejo in the same game as you're saying for Nacho, but we as I said, like we already know Nacho. He's always there for our team, and it's just nice to see. We have more of those in our team, and given the news that we have with Nacho that he might be leaving, it's nice to see that we might actually have another one in our team because both of those are really really important for us, and they are the actual unsung heroes of this team. Taking a step back and realizing that you will probably be on the bench for this team, but still being content with that, and just playing for your team and not for yourself. So definitely it has to be one of those, whichever one you guys choose.
Well, I'm gonna choose the same player as Doris, but not the same game, just to make things a little fun. I will say Nacho as well, but the game against Sevilla, like we talked about earlier, you know, he
He
wasn't the
scored.
starting, and he scored a goal. So in a crucial game, we didn't expect Nacho to be in the field. Not only that, he defended well, but he also scores a goal. So
Yeah.
I only give that Nacho because I think, like Doris said, he's one of my favorite players. To have Nacho in our squad is a privilege because he's a team player, and a team player is always regarded. So for me, that moment make him the unsung hero. Uh, so it's two votes for Nacho and one vote for Vallejo.
Yeah.
And but the game, I would also probably, if you didn't choose the Man City game, I would probably go either way, because those two were so important in that game. So I have to choose a different game just to make a little bit more interesting.
I should have a
So then,
shout out also to
yeah,
Carvajal in the final against Luis Diaz. I personally was really scared about what could happen, and Carvajal is always blowing hot and cold. You never can tell what you're expecting, and Luis Diaz was coming in most likely as the most informed winger in the whole of Europe. So I was expecting it to be a torment because we've seen how quick and pacey wingers like Kylian Mbappe in the previous rounds, literally steamrolled was Danny Carvajal. So, honestly, I was really a bit skeptical about what could happen in that game. And I remember in the preview of the game, I actually named that as a key battle. Whatever happens between Diaz and Carvajal could actually determine eventually what will happen in the game. But Carvajal came to the game as a man possessed. He came to reclaim some of his bragging rights back. And honestly, I just want to shout out how cheap. I really wasn't expecting that at all. I mean, obviously, a name like Carvajal cannot be an unsung hero because he's a starter. He's like a superstar of the team. So, I just wanted to throw that in there as well. Honestly,
no, that's fair. That's fair. So the next category will be most consistent player.
Luca.
So
No one
Courtois.
else. Courtois.
I will disagree with both of you.
I wouldn't
It's
agree
Tony.
with Thibaut. And
What did
Tony Cross is the most consistent player.
what did
for
Doris
the
say
entire
before?
year, Tony
Yeah, for the
Cross.
entire. Yeah.
For the entire 2022, I wouldn't agree with that.
What was your
So
response?
Doris,
I would
make your
say
case for
Luca,
Modric.
just because of the lack of injuries,
Hmm.
mostly. I
Hard to
mean,
be
come
said.
on, the age and not being injured ever, and still every game playing at least a five, like that is consistency. I would say. Yeah.
Well, then I would make the argument that which game hasn't Courtois left to make a world class save?
That is true, but I mean, as a goalkeeper, you're supposed to save the goals, and as a great save, I mean, it is important, if you have many of them. But I wouldn't say like if you have one every game, that you're the most consistent player on the team.
That's the thing, though. Is honestly like these saves are points, shots. Honestly, like either like while the game is at 0-0, while the game is in balance in a 2-1 or a 1-0, he comes up clutch in this moment. Honestly, because I believe that's the difference between a great keeper and a good keeper. For example, I can give you examples like we have, for example, Loris at Spurs, for example. Loris, I would never count on Loris to save me a point in any game, but he will make saves. But he's not going to make saves that any average keeper will not make. He will not make that outrageous save. He wouldn't come clutch when you need him to come clutch. But
No, no,
Thibaut has shown.
I'm not saying that Thibaut wouldn't do that. Of course he would. I'm just saying, like, we're talking about consistency, and he showed us like at multiple times during the year at least, like he is incredible, But I think it is a fair point to have that out of all the great goalkeepers this year, he hasn't had the most clean sheets, the most the stats, basically. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't clutch for our team, like at the most important times throughout the entire season. I'm just saying, like, there are multiple players that fit the profile with their own stuff that they have to do during the game. Same as Tony, same as Luca, and some other players. Like we cannot judge Thibaut just because his position is so different to the rest of the players.
Yeah, and also
I
for me
have
to
to
remember that
separate him from the rest.
Lunin played like 8 games in a row, so that's probably in a detriment of Thibaut's case. But I will back my guy. I still think that the most consistent player of 2022 was Tony Kroos, because whenever Tony wasn't on the field, we uh, we felt his absence more. Somehow we sometimes play without Modric and we're fine. But whenever we play without Tony, we struggle to play our like our possession or our way of making football. For me, still, I still think either Modric or Tibo are good cases for consistent players, but in terms of a year of the importance that if you put other player instead of Tony, I think the team uh, tends to miss him the most. So uh, that being said, if you guys want to comment your choice on the on YouTube, but I don't think we are the first disagreement because the three of us name a different player. So probably it's a good thing to have three different players in the pool as a consistent one, because that means that we have at least three players that are so important to our team.
Yeah, yeah,
We
that's
all, I think we all got, we like if Doris, like Doris said, if we're gonna choose like 21, 22 season, we all gonna say Benzema,
Yeah.
but the question is 2022 as a year, and we cannot put second half of the year Benzema in the same regard of these three incredible players. So if you guys, I will move on to the next award, the best goal. Farouk, do you have any goal in mind?
actually, I have two goals in mind.
Okay.
One of them will be the Vini against Sevilla, the first leg, the one which he caught in from the right
That's
onto
a
the left and just shot in.
2021 year
I really
2021.
enjoyed that goal a lot. And another one would be the another one would be the Panenka. Yeah, I would go with the Panenka. Like one would be the Vini goal, one would be the Panenka. Honestly, I'm not sure which one to go with, but yeah, I will just throw them two out there. Whichever one gets traffic, then we can select it. Because I mean, like the Vini goal actually, was the game that actually, for me personally, was the game that I actually like fully believed that Vini was now in the real deal. Because we've seen before how he was able to cold, blow hot and cold, even miss an open net and what is not, but the game against that goal actually, it made me personally like believe that yeah, Vini has come of age, But then the goal against the Panenka against Edison as well at the Etihad was a goal that commanded a lot of respect, and I don't even know the aura, the belief, whatever it is. So those two goals for me were the highlights of the year.
Doris, which do you
Um,
have any?
there are a couple moments. Some of them were technically in 2021. That is Alaba's goal in the El Clasico. His first El Clasico. Also the free kick goal he scored in 2022 actually. But of course I would I would have to say the Panenka. It's the obvious answer, and I would also add the Rodrigo's goal against Chelsea in the dying minutes of the game. It was an incredible pass and just a goal. It was perfect, yeah, and we won the game
You
obviously
should have
after
asked
that.
for this. So, oh, that pass was. You should
Yeah,
have
that
its own
pass,
special for
it
Javier.
was a category for best pass that would probably be the number one for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll have
For
to.
me, just to round up, in terms of importance, I will say either Rodrigo's header against City or the Panenka one for Benzema. But in terms of aesthetic, I will say I don't remember the rival. Maybe you guys remember. It was in this season, the Fede goal that he run like I don't know 80 meters from
Oh,
our box to the like outside the area of the other team, and
yeah.
like
Yes, yes. I
and a
do remember
screamer.
something.
I think he only touched the ball like him, and I think was Ceballos. Uh, it was an impressive goal. Like he run like 80 meters and
Yeah,
somehow managed to rocket a goal in the top corner. I think was that goal was impressive. In terms of importance, it's not important because it's a La Liga game, but in terms of aesthetic, I will choose that. Or any Fede's goal in the 2022-2023 season. I mean, this guy only scores um, beautiful outside the box goals. So moving up a little faster because we have to round this up. Best game, Doris.
Uh, I would Chelsea first leg because it was finally a game where I didn't age that much, and Benz scored a hat trick again. It was, I would say that was probably the most special game. It was back to back hat tricks, 3-1, pretty comfortable win. It's Chelsea, Chelsea game.
Farouk?
for me, it was a Paris game at the Bernabeu, the 3-1 victory. Yeah, it was a Paris game. And, I mean that game actually, was the after the shambolic performance in Paris, like literally, like where we were so lucky to escape with a one-goal deficit. The first 15 minutes was very encouraging for Real Madrid, but then we just let Mbappe start to do his thing again eventually, and I think he scored three goals in the game. Two of them were offside, one of them was counted. So and then something just happened in the second half. We just clicked, and we just started to put on more pressure. Started to get into the game more, and it was really exciting. And as I said earlier, like I feel like that was the game that actually was the catalyst that made these young players actually start to believe in themselves. Start to understand the order of Real Madrid in this competition as well. So yeah, for me, the Paris game, although it was very nail biting and very 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 scary as well after the Kylian goal, but overall, I think I would select it as my game of the year.
Now, for me, if I have to choose a game, like uh, in an emotional way, I could go probably uh, Man City in the Bernabeu. But in terms of our potential or the game that I think we play our best football, I will say was against Barcelona in this season. Because they until that point they used still talk about 4-0, you know, and and we somehow managed to shut everyone up and beat them 3-1. If you guys remember, this game was completely controlled for us. But in the last few minutes, Barcelona wake up, make a goal for Ferran Torres, and then we put the ground with Rodrigo's penalty. So for me, it was the best performance, but not the biggest game. So in terms of performance, I will choose that. But in terms of the big game, I will go with either of your options.
Mm.
Uh,
So
I will, if it's gonna change the decision, I will change it to PSG. If it's gonna weigh in on the, because I think like both games, but it's PSG probably.
okay, so two votes for the PSG second leg in the Bernabeu and one for against Barcelona. So moving to the final category, uh, if you uh, is the best player of the year. Uh,
You.
is this is one of the toughest ones because, like we said, this is one of the best years in our history. And once again, I'm not trying to be biased, but if you summarize the season, it will be once again hands out Karim. But that being said, and if we count the year, for me, and this is the only reason that I didn't choose him as the best young player, is because I'm going to choose him as the best player in the 2022. For me, is our boy, our future Ballon d'Or, Vinicius Junior. I think Vinicius Junior has the best 2022 of any Real Madrid player. So I will go to you, Farouk, if you agree with me or disagree with me.
I totally agree with you, Javier. Unfortunately, I really want to disagree with you on this because honestly, I want to show a lot of love to Fede Valverde right here. But I
Next
think
man.
as a whole, uh, Vinicius Junior has literally, like, I mean, heads and shoulders above every single player in my because, as you rightly pointed out, like, if you consider the season, then no. But if you consider the year, considering that Karim Benzema was out for a while, injured, and what is not, and also Fede Valverde at the start of the year wasn't, also a shooting starter. What is not, you understand? So, yeah, I will go with Vini. Honestly, like Vinicius Junior number one. I think Thibaut Courtois was a close second, and Benzema, Fede, and I would say Luka Modric round out the podium for me. Yeah, well, Vinicius Junior, ready to ready too, and I think it goes along with honestly, like so it's really so that's why it's really sad honestly to see how Vini is being treated and no one is literally doing anything. But I don't know, sometimes we don't like to, generalize on anything or anything. But the point is becoming, after what point is enough? Honestly, after what point is enough? Because this is just so, he's such a young player, and he's such an entertaining player, and these things are happening to him, and like literally no one is saying anything that he has. I, I don't know if you guys can understand the gravity of the fact that he's so helpless that the only thing he can do is just to take his phone and type it on his Instagram or on his Twitter. Like, it's really so sad. Like he's such a very young player, in a foreign country, and no one is actually, doing it. I think even the club as a whole, should be doing things about this because the point is you have cameras in stadiums. You can request for these footages. You can see people who are doing this atrocious behavior towards such a player. Honestly, but credit to Vinicius. Honestly, like it seems like he has armor of steel on him, and nothing is getting to him really. So yeah, I take my hats off to Vinicius Junior in the year 2022, and as you said, Javier, hopefully this is the beginning of the road to the eventual Ballon d'Or. Although unfortunately he plays with this crazy Mbappe and Haaland guys, I don't know how that's gonna happen, but I hope he wins it one way or another.
So, Doris, you are 3 for 3 for Bini, or do you have anyone in mind?
Yeah, it has to be Vinicius, because if we just judge the last half of the second, or last season, like for 2022. Both Vinicius and Benzema were incredible, and in the Champions run, of course, like even more. Because Benzema wouldn't have done that without Vini and vice versa. But Vinicius kept his form going this season because Benzema has missed quite a few games, and maybe if he hadn't and kept going, it would probably be Karim, but it has to be Vinicius. And being so young, he will probably win us the Ballon d'Or. So it's three for Vinicius. And people in chat are saying, well, Vallejo was a pleasant surprise. He did really well coming in. Shout out to Vallejo. That is for the unsung hero. Raul is saying hello, hello. Raul, Modric for me, we take the right way when he's on the pitch by Elamas. That's for the most consistent player. I think I would throw the first goal against PSG at home in the mix. That's against Donnarumma. Maybe not the most beautiful goal, but a crucial one, and it showed Ben's desire and passion. So Benzema 1, Vinicius 2, and Thibaut 3.
Okay,
That's from the
so
chat.
thank you, Doris. So to summarize, best player, it's unanimous, is Vinicius. Best young player, it's also Vinicius, two votes. Best defender, we all agree was Alaba.
Yeah.
Unsung hero was Nacho, but we choose two different games. Most consistent player, it's a three-way tie between Thibaut, Modric, and Toni Kroos. And best goal, uh, I think we don't agree on that, but
It's
I think
difficult to agree on that. It's really difficult.
but I think we all agree with importance
Yeah,
in the
yes.
regard was the Panenka one.
Probably, yes.
And the best game, it was the second leg against PSG at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
So to summarize, I will just to close this, Doris, you have three wishes: one for the podcast, one signing that you wish, and the other is like in general, Real Madrid related.
Okay, so the first wish is, guys, subscribe, like, comment. It helps us out. That's the obvious wish. The second question was for transfer.
A signing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
assigning. Well, as a Croatian, and given that Modric will be leaving, I just wanted to be a Croat. So it's Joško, please come to Madrid. It is probably unrealistic right now, but you never know. You never know. And for the third one, a general wish. I wish to win La Liga mostly this season. That's what I'm shooting for. Just so it's not Barca. Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
It gives me the happiness in the morning to get up. What about you guys?
All right, Farouk.
Uh,
Farouk.
my first wish for the podcast would be let's. I hope this year we can have a very a strong collaboration. Either that or a vlog from a live game. I hope one of these
Possible.
two things will. And my wish, I mean, I've already said this, is Kylian Mbappe. My transfer wish is Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe. I mean,
I think we're only the two that still wish to him to play. No, the other guys in the
I did not wish for Kylian Mbappe to come to Real Madrid until the World Cup. But after the World Cup, I think I would be a stupid person to see a player like Mbappe and not want him.
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, that's just the thing, man. Like after the World Cup, man, the guy is honestly, I don't even know what to quantify him. But the only thing I know is I want him to play on my team. That's just it, honestly. And the third wish would be a Champions League repeat. Honestly, I really don't care about the league at this point. A Champions League repeat would be fine for me.
All right. And then for me, the first wish, I wish us to close the 1K subscribers as soon as possible. I think we're gonna end up the year even with I would expect at least 2K by the end of the 2023 year. The second, my wish, I will say as well, Mbappe, but to change things up, I will praise my boy. I I would love to bring Jude Bellingham to this team. I think he's great. He has all the potential to be a Real Madrid player. He's young. We saw what he can do in the World Cup. I saw him every single week in the Borussia Dortmund. I think he's gonna be great for us. And and the third wish, I will wish the same as Doris. I want a back-to-back La Liga for the first time in God knows how many years.
Exactly.
We need to win back-to-back La Ligas. So that being said, I hope all of our wishes came true. And if you guys want to give your wishes, you can put it in the chat in the description. You can follow us on social media and you can add your wishes, or if you agree with us in the terms of the awards, you can put your names in the of the awards. So uh, that's it. That's it for the show. Expect a preview for the game against. Sorry, I forgot the name. The La Copa del Rey tomorrow. But yeah, this was the first effort to summarize a year, a wonderful 2022 year for Real Madrid. I hope 2023 will be as good as this one, and we see each other on January 2024, talking about the trophies, talking about the best goal, the best player, the best play. Uh, I'm glad that we summarized this wonderful year. That the first year in the podcast, I think, is the first year of the podcast as well, like Sonny say. So congratulations to all of us to that make this an effort possible. Uh, Thank you, like Dory said. Thank you for your subscriptions or your likes. It helps us a lot and bring us joy. So if you guys want to add something to this recap, Doris.
Not really everything you said. Have a good one, guys.
Yeah, I just want to add honestly, like I feel like Javier is such a very good host, and I feel like we should have you as a prominent host. Honestly, like it's such a smooth transition between the stuff, and I believe our viewers and listeners also will share that sentiment as well. So thank you, Javier, as well for hosting us today as well. A la Madrid, people.
Hala Madrid.
A la Madrid.